The SADI procedure is the newest procedure that I have started to perform. It's a newer version of an old operation, the duodenal switch. It's been around for several years, although it still remains a relatively small percentage of the procedures that are performed around the world. The SADI is essentially a sleeve gastrectomy combined with a distal bypass. So with the sleeve you get the restriction that you would get with a normal sleeve, although the sleeve gastrectomy performed for SADI is slightly wider because we are combining it with a strong bypass procedure. In the Roux-en-Y bypass, which is the other bypass I perform, we don't routinely measure how much of the small bowel we're leaving to absorb your calories, whereas in the SADI we only leave you 3 meters to absorb your calories. So typically in a Roux-en-Y gastric bypass we would expect you to have somewhere between 5 to 7 meters. In the SADI you've only got 3 meters. So it's a very strong weight loss procedure. The downside is you've only got 3 meters in which to absorb your minerals and vitamins, so you have to be a little bit more particular about taking your multivitamins and having your bloods checked. We haven't seen anything with the SADI that we don't see in the other operations, but there have been descriptions in the literature of people not taking their multivitamins, not having their bloods checked, and then presenting with significant cardiac and neurological issues. So it is something you have to be aware of. The SADI procedure is a very effective, strong bypass. It can be an option in patients who are super obese. That's with a BMI of over 50. It's also an option for diabetics. And it's also a useful option if you've had a previous sleeve gastrectomy and have weight regain. In that circumstance, I don't have to touch your sleeve. We just perform the distal bypass. It's not so good in patients who have significant reflux, again, similar to a sleeve gastrectomy. Overall, the long-term results from the SADI compare well to a banded gastric bypass, which is the strongest form of Roux-en-Y bypass that we can perform. One of the advantages of the SADI is you don't tend to get the dumping symptoms that you get with the gastric bypass. This is because the pylorus muscle at the end of the stomach is still intact. Stomach works normally, so basically your stomach fills up with food and then slowly releases it through. So you don't get that sudden change that can induce the dumping syndrome that you see in the gastric bypass. My patients tell me that if they do eat the wrong foods, too much sugar or too much fat, they tend to get diarrhea the next day, so they pay the price the next day. Overall, I've been fairly impressed with the results from a SADI procedure, but it is an operation that we have to select our patients carefully, and patients have to understand in particular the long-term implications of maintaining their multivitamins and having their bloods checked. If you'd like to know more, please feel free to ring the rooms. You can make a free appointment to chat with Shirley and discuss your options.